So a few years ago, I reviewed the Talon 4 from Giant, and I came to the conclusion that that was one of the best, if not the best, sub $1,000 mountain bikes that you could possibly buy to get you into this wonderful sport of ours. But now that the bike industry has been turned up on its head, I wanted to take a look at that bike again, or the Talon line in general, and see if I still come to the same conclusion. But if you do enjoy this content, you want to see all of the new updates, the 2023s should be coming out soon. Did I just wink at you? That's kind of weird. Make sure you hit the bell notification, like this video first, and subscribe. That's how you can support me, and I thank you so much for it. Now, let us just get to the bike shop and we'll go over the Giant Talon lineup. The Giant Talon comes in a few different flavors. You've got your 29er, your 27.5, your various builds like the 1, 4, 2, and finally different sizes. So what exactly does make this bike more of an entry-level mountain bike, not so much something you want to stick with for years and years and years, because it's less upgradable. Now what I mean by that is the head tube is not tapered, so if you want to upgrade, you're going to be limited on your fork choice. And the biggest downfall of any entry-level bike, in my opinion, is that they are quick release. That is the mechanism that allows you to take the wheels on and off the bike quickly and easily. Everything in the mountain bike industry has now moved over to through axles, so if you want a nice set of wheels, or even a nicer fork, you're gonna have to, well, the frame can't take it, so that's out of the question, but the fork anyway, if you upgrade your fork on that thing, more than likely it's gonna be a through axle, you're gonna have to buy a new front wheel as well. So you're starting to sink a lot of money into this bike, where the frame, it's always gonna be quick release. I don't know, somebody may have made some sort of adapter. The width is too narrow as well, the bikes aren't boost. So for an entry-level bike, that doesn't matter as much, but if you're thinking about the future and you want to upgrade this, I would start looking at something more like the XTC or the Fathom. Those start over $1,000, but that's not the bike we're here to talk about. The geometry is also a little bit outdated on the Talons, but it's nothing terrible. It's not like you're just gonna hate riding the thing because of this geometry, because in all honesty, the people that are looking at this bike are gonna be new to this sport. That is what this video is about. If you're brand new and you have no idea what you're looking at and you think you may or may not want to get into mountain biking, because this is, after all, a mountain bike, which Talon should you look for, and is this still a great buy? So after trashing the bike a little bit, what do I actually think the appealing aspects of it are? If it is simply an entry-level bike, well, that all comes down to price point and what you get for your money. So very quickly, let's run through the Talons. You have the Talon 4 that retails at $600. The frame between all three of these are going to be identical. You're basically just going to be paying for different components. So with the Talon 4, it is coming with a SR Suntour front fork at about 80 mil of travel, and it is going to have disc brakes on it, but the disc brakes are going to be a mechanical disc brake. And then last but not least, your shifters and derailleurs tend to be either like a tourney level Shimano, or they're going to be micro shift. And then it comes with, I think it's a double now, up front, so you've got like 2 gears in the front and then about like 8 in the rear. Now when you go and bump up to the Talon 2 for $750, you're getting something a little bit nicer. The two upgrades here for $150, what are you getting? You're getting a 1x9. It does have a clutch on the rear derailleur. A clutch, if you do not know, essentially keeps the chain from flying off this thing without having a chain guide or a front derailleur. So you're only gonna have one shifter. It's gonna shift only the gears in the rear of the bike, and you're gonna have 9 of them. And then on top of that, you are going to get hydraulic disc brakes. Hydraulic brakes are definitely an upgrade over the mechanical brakes. Not that they're going to make you per se stop 50% better. That's not really the case, especially if you're dealing with just regular 2-piston brakes. But they're going to be much more consistent. Your cable doesn't have to be adjusted. The lever feels so much better. Your cable's also not gonna get super gummed up. You let the bike sit for a month or something like that. It's just a better system overall. So the value, the money difference is there for $150. You can't really get even the brakes for under $100 bucks. So getting that and a one buy is a very big upgrade in my opinion. I personally believe the Talon 2 is the best bang for the buck out of the three. Taking a step back, I do like to comment on beginner bikes that have 1-bys on them. That is a godsend. I think that if you're a beginner and you can find something in your budget that is a 1-by, just get it. You're gonna love the bike so much more. It's gonna make you not hate the shifting process, because the front shifter on mountain bikes, they never really worked amazing to begin with, because they were essentially designed for a road bike and then just adapted for mountain biking. But when you have to worry about what gear you're in the rear to make the front shift properly, it's more of a process to learn how to shift that front derailleur. It's not super hard, but a lot of people do have trouble with it. So now moving up to the Talon 1, the biggest upgrade you are going to find here is the front fork. That front fork is actually an air shock, so we can adjust your fork for your body weight. If you weigh 100 pounds, we can put in that amount of PSI that'll make the thing work better for you. If you weigh 150 pounds or 200 pounds, we can adjust the pressure of the air to make it ride better. So this fork is adjustable, whereas the Talon 2 and the Talon 1, for all intents and purposes, I describe them as a pogo stick that are on those things. They're better than a fully rigid bike, especially for a beginner, but they're not anything special. Actually, I take that back. Sometimes I would almost think a fully rigid bike would be better for a beginner than a fork, that if you ride it really, really hard is more than likely gonna have issues and you're gonna have to upgrade it anyway. Now the other upgrade that you get is a 1x10. I have seen this bike come with 1x10 from Microshift and Shimano. Like I've said in the past, there's always a little stipulation at the bottom of all of these spec sheets where basically says that parts are subject to change at a moment's notice. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get a lateral change or an upgrade. Like we've had bikes come in with 4-piston brakes on them instead of 2-piston brakes. Especially since, you know, the shipping crisis that we have had recently, it's become more of the norm to not get exactly what's on the spec sheet, and basically Giant's just trying to get these bikes out the door, or else they'd be sitting there for more and more months. Now all 3 of these bikes do come in 2 wheel sizes, but the way Giant and other companies, for instance, are doing this is that the really tiny frames, those are getting more of the 27.5. You get up to like the mediums, you have your pick which one you want, and then when you get up to the bigger sizes, there's strictly a 29. That's a completely different discussion whether or not you should have a 29 or a 27.5, but these bikes do come in both, so that's nice. Now, why do I like the Talon 2? I think the Talon 2 is the best bang for the buck because it's $750, you get the hydraulic brakes, you get the 1x, the fork on it isn't that great. I think a year from now, with all 3 of these, a year from now, there's gonna be 3 options that you have. You're gonna be obsessed with mountain biking and you love it, because if you don't enjoy mountain biking, you don't enjoy fun. And you're gonna wanna upgrade, because this is, after all, an entry-level bicycle. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna set this bike on the market, you're gonna try to sell it. I think you can probably sell a Talon 2 for, let's say, $550, $600 after having it for a year. And you're only out a little bit of money for riding this thing for a year. As long as you keep it nice, you're gonna be able to sell this thing. Now the Talon 1, you're probably not gonna make as much money back, and you're gonna lose a little bit more. It's just like cars. When you drive these things off the lot, they immediately lose a lot of value. Now the Talon 4, you're gonna get probably the most return on it, because that's about as cheap as you can get a good quality entry-level mountain bike at $600. You could probably sell that thing for $500, and you're only out $100. But the reason I don't suggest that bike is more because it has the double on the front. And I've seen a lot of people get discouraged and hate riding their bike because they just simply hate trying to figure out that front shifter. And that's why I don't recommend that for a true beginner. Now, the Talon 4 is a great bike if you're on the fence. You kind of want to go experience mountain biking, but you're going to use the bike to ride around the neighborhood as well. Perfect bike for that. So you're going to want to upgrade. You're gonna wanna get a new mountain bike. The other side of it is you hate mountain bike and you're gonna wanna sell it, and you're in the same boat in that situation. Third option is, and I've seen this before, you forget you have a bicycle and it just sits in the corner of your house for 6 or 7 years. So that's your 3 options. And that's why I believe the Talon 2 is probably the best bang for the buck, because you're gonna get the most money back if you try to sell it. Now, let's take a look at these. I'm gonna compare them to another brand, and let's see if for an entry-level bike, this is good bang for the buck, because that to me is what determines a great entry-level bike. It's how much money that beginner is going to be spending on this and how much of a headache it's going to be for them once that bike gets to the trail. So first and foremost, let's compare it to the GT Aggressors, because this is the bike that a lot of people are going to be comparing the Talons with. For GT, the Aggressor Sport, the entry-level bike, entry-level mountain bike, coming in at $635. What does it have different from the Talon that is $600? Really, absolutely nothing. The frame's aluminum. It's got 75 millimeters instead of 80 of suspension on the front. Sun Tour. It's gonna be a double or a triple on the front. Mechanical brakes. So to me, between $600 and $635, is the GT worth that extra $35? No, it's not. Now, the only thing I would say, if you are enamored by the color of the GT, what's 35 bucks to get something that you think looks beautiful? I get that, but the value isn't there. It's the same bike that you're paying more money for, and it probably even comes out of a Giant factory. Now here's where GT starts to really lose me. You bump up to the Aggressor Expert, it retails at $770. You do get the same exact like 80mm fork that you're probably gonna have on that Talon. You also get the dual hydraulic Tektro brakes, so there you go, you've got a hydros, but you get a 24-speed gearing system. And this bike retails at 770 bucks. So the only difference in the base model GT Aggressor in the Sport and the Expert is that you're getting those hydro disc brakes on it, and it's 770 bucks. The Giant is 750. You're getting hydraulic disc brakes and a 1x. So at this price point, I really don't care if the color is that much more amazing. I know the price difference isn't a lot, but having that 1x and it being a cheaper bike, Giant wins out here yet again. And now here's where they lose out severely. So when you bump up to the Avalanche comp, that is probably going to be the most comparable bike to the Talon 1. Talon 1 is $980, the Avalanche comp is $1,075, and you still get the same crummy spring fork that you get on the mid-tier Talon. The GT definitely loses out at this price point. At the $600 price point, it's not that bad. When you start getting up to these guys though, it's a big difference in what you get. The Talon 1 comes with an air shock and that 1x10. This bike does not come with an air shock. It's almost $100 more expensive. So GT, sorry, but I can't recommend that bike over the Talon lineup. So all in all, whenever you compare this bike, and we can continue this, we can look at Treks and other brands, but when you're comparing the Giant to the Specialized to the GT for this specific application here for an entry-level bike, the Giant wins out, in my humble opinion, every time. Wins out on value, and that's what you're looking for if you're first starting into this, because most people come in, and that's their question is, you know, I don't know anything about mountain biking. Show me what I can get, best bang for the buck. I don't want to sink a ton of money into it, but I also don't want to hate mountain biking. But in all honesty, if you're going with a big brand and you're spending over 700 bucks, you're not gonna hate mountain biking unless you hate fun. I really hope this video helped somebody. All in all, going back to the beginning of it, do I think the Talon is still the best entry-level mountain bike you can get? Yes, I do, 100%. If you have any questions on them, feel free to ask below. I've really been trying to respond to most all questions as long as it's within the first, 3 weeks while the bicycle's still in hand. But once that's over, I'll try to answer questions to the best of my ability, but if I don't have the bike on hand, I can't just go over and look at it. So if you guys want weight, anything like that, let me know. I thank you all. I will see you in the next one. Bye.